Welcome to the Rise Above Show, presented by RoofCON. My name is Diego Dante, and I'm thrilled to bring you inspiring conversations with some of the most innovative and bright minds in our industry. From business and entrepreneurship to personal development and growth, we'll explore the strategies, insights, and stories that have helped our guests rise above challenges, overcome adversity, and achieve their goals. So sit back, relax, and join us on this journey of empowerment, inspiration, and discovery. This is the Rise Above Show. Welcome to the Rise Above Show presented by RoofCON. My name is Diego Dante. We're here in beautiful Greenville, South Carolina with my friend Adam McChesney of Hite Digital. How you doing, man?
Good, man. I'm glad to be here. Love the place. Good to see you again, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, it's exciting to have you in South Carolina. We just hung out in Costa Rica, and we talked about doing it there. Didn't make it happen there, but I'm glad that this worked out here. And you gave one of the best keynotes at this conference that we were at the Commitment Summit. Shout out JC for the invite to that. We mainly, for marketing agency owners, but you gave this great keynote on building your agency. But I think that a lot of the same topics can really be translated across the board to really any business owners in general. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to dig into some of that. But I guess before we get into that, what do you think of South Carolina so far?
So this is actually my second time here. I came back in April. I really love it. I haven't been to the East Coast a whole lot, but I really enjoy just like the scenery of everything. And it's got a lot of at least Greenville does, has a lot of the same vibes as the Midwest. It's not your typical East Coast when you're going to Florida and up to New England, which is what I'm used to. So I love it, man. I get to come out here usually about once a quarter now, and I love the overall vibe and everything about it.
So you're from St. Louis, is that right? Or you live in
Yes.
St. Louis? I don't know if you're from St. Louis, but...
Yes.
So what do you do at Hite?
Yes. So for 2 years at Hite, I owned a franchise. So I was the top franchise that we had. Basically running a digital marketing agency in a franchise system. And so did that for 2 years, went into Hite with about $30,000 in our book of business, about 30 clients, grew it up to about $150,000 in recurring revenue and 8 full-time team members. And then recently just merged with JC at the corporate side of things. So now we're building out our own direct to working with business owners, in addition to still offering the franchise side for our agency owners. So my official role is partner, but also the VP of growth.
Sweet. Cool. So let's dig into, again, this growing. I think overall, it's not even, again, just growing an agency as much as we could talk about growing a brand in general, right? So what are some of the things that you did when you started out to grow the brand that you've built for yourself?
Yeah, so back in 2018, I got started in rank and rent digital marketing. So I was working in corporate America. I was a medical device sales rep, and I literally hated it. So I was sitting in a hotel room. I typed in how to make money online, and a ad popped up to basically teach me how to build out digital real estate in the form of websites. So for 2 years before I took it full time, I literally built 200 websites. And so I knew the ins and outs of how to build the websites, how to do the technical SEO, and then how to rank the websites once they were out there. What I was hearing, because I was basically a localized version of like a home advisor. Everybody loved it because it was exclusive and it was pay per lead or commission or whatever. But what everybody was saying is, hey, we hate working with digital marketing agencies. And we also hate getting cold called and DM'd and spammed on social media. So as I went full time in July 2020, I started to realize that personal branding was going to be my one separation point from all the other digital marketers, because I had heard this stuff over 2 years. And then I joined a mastermind that basically taught me how to build a personal brand without showing up and throwing up everything about digital marketing, but really building the authority. And I done that over the course of the last 3 years, but not talking about what it is that I sell. Talking about and talking to, not through, the people that I'm helping. And that, for the most part, is contractors. They're business owners just like myself, and they're going through all the same crap that I go through. So just really providing motivation and education on, hey, here's what we all go through. You're in roofing, you're in digital marketing, you're a consultant or a coach. We're dealing with a lot of the same stuff.
So I think this is interesting because one of the things that I've noticed from you is, you talk to your point, like building a personal brand was the big differentiator, right? And so in the roofing industry, we know this let's just get it out of the way. Roofers hate marketers. Mm-hmm. And so the difference really is like, hey, you get people to get to know you, they like you, and then they realize that you're in digital marketing, right? So I didn't even realize at first. I think we'd been friends on Facebook for a while, and I didn't connect the dots that you were at Hite, or I guess I kind of figured that you were in digital marketing because some of the posts that you had made. But we built a friendship online, and then all the then I realized you were in marketing, and I feel like that's huge for you as a marketer, for roofing contractors as a whole, if you think about like the type of people that are just spamming all day long too, right? So how if you post all day, hey, call me for a free roof inspection, call me for this, call me for that, like no one cares. Yeah. And you're not going to get anything out of it. Versus your style of doing it, of like, hey, I'm going to post a picture with my wife and my dog, or I'm going to post a photo of, talk about all the stuff you're doing. I'm traveling, I'm doing this, I'm doing all this cool stuff. And then you sprinkle in some of these other things so people know what you're doing. And then when people need help, because they're going to need help with building their website or with putting on a new roof at their house or whatever, you're the go-to person.
Exactly. And so it's just breaking down the walls to build relationships, right? So I'm giving a talk here next month to a bunch of contractors, and they were like, hey, can you talk on personal branding and not digital marketing? I'm like, of course, because it all leads into one another. And they're like, we're trying to figure out how these contractors can build their own personal brands, but more, why is it important for them? They're selling directly to homeowners. Well, if you're only thinking about that, you can still do it, but you should also be thinking about marketing to other contractors and referral partners, right? So you should be putting out information, no different than I put out information that entrepreneurs want to hear that just so happen to be contractors. You should be putting that information out about what your referral partners and also the homeowners are thinking about, right? You can be very creative about the content that you're posting out instead of just talking about free roof inspection, or praying for hail and taking pictures of hail. Like, of course, that's important from time to time, but you can also talk about just the buying process of buying a roof or buying a home or the inspection process. You can do it without sounding like you're trying to pitch everybody. And so the more and more contractors specifically can separate themselves for that, not only are they going to get more attention from homeowners, they're going to get more attention from referral partners and contractors, but also they're going to get attention from different events in the industry and recognition from those people. So if you go on a stage at a conference like RoofCON because you've been crushing it and you've been building your local authority, you don't think that you're going to be able to go back to your market and be like, hey, this is what I did, right? So people are, I think, when they look at personal branding, they're short-sighting it because they don't see like the immediate impact. And that's the same way digital marketers, I've talked with digital marketers all the time. They're like, well, how many leads am I going to get from them? It's like, man, you're building something bigger. You can't be so focused on that.
Well, and it's such a long-term, well, it can be. It can also be a really short-term thing, right? You can blow up on whatever, and everyone wants to do business with you, but more than likely it's going to be this long-term, you like to be able to build a personal brand of, people recognizing you as the guy for that thing, right? Like, It just doesn't happen overnight. But that consistency, so many people start and they're like, all right, well, I'm going to do video and I'm going to start posting 2-3 times a day, and you start doing it and you don't see the results straight away. And so then you just kind of go back to your own ways. And it's like, some of these people did this for, you have people like Gary Vee doing it for 10 years plus before anyone cared about anything, right? So, so that consistency, how do you work on consistency in general?
So I think the consistency in general, like aspect of it, is just breaking it down to the daily tasks and the daily habits, right? So we have our end goal of whatever we're trying to do in a year. You then break that down to a quarter. You break it down from there from a month, and then you break it down to a week and day. Where most people go wrong about the consistency part is I tell people, hey, it's probably going to take 6 to 12 months of consistency of building a personal brand, regardless of the industry, in order for you to become somebody that people know. They automatically think out to 12 months and don't think that they could just do the same thing every single day and it might happen quicker. So they start with the end in mind, which is good, but they're only focused on that large number. They're not focused on what can I do today to push forward to that. And that's in every aspect in life, whether that's eating healthier, going to the gym, getting a better relationship with your wife or your spouse, all those different things that you have to start with in the moment. What can I be doing physically today and mentally and emotionally today in order to push towards that larger goal?
How many podcasts have you done that aren't your, because you've got a podcast.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking about this in the sense of like, you're thinking of every single way that I can build a brand. Like you're thinking of the videos, you're thinking of the posts, you're thinking of like getting on podcasts. Like how many have you personally been on as part of like trying to build your brand?
Yeah, so I actually have my team going back and finding all of them right now, but it's over 150 in the last 3 years. So at one point I went on a sprint in 2021 where I think I ended up doing over 75 that year. So half of them were done in 2021. 2022, we had a ton of growth, so it kind of tapered off, but I've gotten back into it now that I've kind of delegated and elevated within the business. But there's so many different avenues of personal branding, and the more consistent that you can do about it, like I would be a year ago even, I might have been super, super nervous to come on this podcast. But I've done so many of them now that my next kind of like every single time I get on stage, because I've still only done 30 or 40 of those, I'm still getting super nervous about that. And it never goes away. It only gets a little bit easier with each time. But the more lines you have in the water and the more consistent you can be, the more recognition, the more exposure you're going to have.
Yeah, I think contractors in general, I was just talking about this with someone it feels uncomfortable for, I don't know why. It's like, it's this feeling uncomfortable being on camera or putting yourself out there, right? Or sometimes it's even like, well, none of the other, roofers in my area are doing that. Like they're just doing the standard other things, right? The running ads or, just having billboards up. And it's like, those things are great, but you got to do the things that differentiate you from your competition, right? Having that consistency, being on podcasts. I interviewed Kevin Harrington at your event, and he said, like, the difference between the way people shop now and the way they shop 20 years ago is now I'm going to the internet to find you. And I can find out everything you've done on the internet. So if I'm looking for a roofer in my area and the first thing that pops up is, hey, this guy's done podcasts, he's written books, he's done this and whatever, like you're like, that's who you're going to start with. The person that's got the most amount of, real estate online, right?
Yeah.
And just how important that putting out content is for differentiating yourself from what everyone else in your market is doing. Because if you're not doing it, someone else is going to do it.
Yeah. And I think what you said is because other people aren't doing it and they're not doing it well or they're not doing it consistently, most contractors feel like they shouldn't do it, right? And so the thing that I always obviously hear is people hate working with marketers. Okay, well, here's free stuff that you can be doing. Well, then they say that that's too hard. You're going to have to do something, and probably multiple things outside of the box, in order to grow and scale your company. And I've seen this firsthand, not only working with contractors, but I also own an auto glass repair company and a landscape design company.
Can you tell that story? Oh, finish what you're telling, and then I want to hear about how you started those.
Yeah, but so I've seen it reverse engineered, because we've had to go do all the traditional ways to grow those companies now, because we built it from just stupid little websites that I built. So we've had to now do all the things that contractors are like second nature of doing the door knocking and the networking and all that stuff, where we've relied so heavily on the digital marketing. It's great because it's consistent, but now we have to incorporate the other stuff.
RoofCON's amazing. Getting to see all the speakers like Nick and Eric and especially Tim Tebow. Very exciting and eye-opening.
Amazing speakers and great knowledge. Keep it up.
First RoofCON, been following Hunter and the Revolt Clan for quite some time, and it's definitely been a lot more than what we expected.
This event is getting better and better.
So if you're going to go to one roofing conference, make sure that it's RoofCON.
RoofCON 2023 returns to Orlando, Florida, November 9th through the 11th. Get your tickets at roofcon.com.
Tell the story about how you started those companies.
Yeah, so back in 2018, as I mentioned, I built 200 websites. So I was picking random industries and random cities and just building websites, doing SEO with myself and a couple virtual assistants, and then just ranking it to the first page of Google. Well, our auto glass repair company in 2020 just started, the website just started popping off. It went from literally like getting no calls. All of a sudden it would get 30, 40, 50 calls, and then it started a month, and then it got to 300, 400, 500 calls a month before we actually started the business. So I was literally just forwarding the calls to this local guy in right outside of our hometown in St. Louis, and the guy's like, "Man, I can't pay you what this is worth," because I was basically charging him a couple bucks a call, but it just kept escalating so much. He's like, "I can't even handle the influx in business you're giving me." He's like, "I get referrals and word of mouth. I've been in business for 20 years. I've never had people find anything about me on Google." So I had the crazy idea. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to start the company. And so it was 3 months after I left corporate America. Marketing company started to do a little bit, well. And I'm like, all right, this thing could be an absolute gold mine. Well, then the marketing company started to take off. I started that company, put about 30 grand into the company. I found a guy that was basically almost homeless, that he was trying to get back up on his feet. And so I'm the type of guy where I'm like, I see the good in everything. He got super unlucky. It's a crazy story. I could go on for days about that, but basically gave him the keys to the company. And he didn't know auto glass, because I obviously didn't know auto glass, and auto glass people were super hard to find. And so we trained him in the auto glass side of things, bought a bunch of nice equipment, the trucks, all that stuff. And we started to scale the company, and we got up to 4 full-time employees. And then he kind of ran the company in the ground. And that was right after I joined Hite. So it's like Hite's getting ready to take off, and all of a sudden I'm losing all this money in this auto glass company, and I don't know anything about it, right? So I eventually, 6 months later after that, in the beginning of 2022, decided to start finding potential ways to get at least some equity sold out of the company, so then that way we could get more money in, and also somebody to run the company, because I had no idea what was going on. So our manager at the time, now basically our CEO of the company, now owns a little piece of it, and then we brought in an outside investor. And since I've started to step away from the company, it's grown to, like, we did $75,000 last month, which is just insane for $350 average ticket. Got about 5 trucks now, and we know the auto glass industry now. But I literally just started it from a simple website that I ranked to the first page of Google. It outranks SafeLight. It outranks every other company that's in the area. And then we did a very similar thing with landscape design. Much less crazy story, because I didn't find somebody off the street to start running the company. I had a partner.
I want to talk marketing for a second. I think it'd be a disservice to not get some marketing tips out of you. So if I'm a roofing contractor and I'm not at the point where I can afford to hire someone out yet. What are some of the things that I can start doing today to start getting roofing jobs from the digital marketing side of it?
So there's 3 key things you should be focused on. One is Google reviews and getting very, very detailed Google reviews. So let's just say that you went out to somebody's house in Greer, South Carolina, just because I know that that's a city here, and that homeowner literally said, "Hey, we called, Diego with RoofCON, and he came out to our house, inspected the property after a storm, and got through the entire insurance process, and then was able to get us insured for a new roof, or verified for a new roof, right?" And then he came out to our house in Greer, and then they post a picture of the property of the project. So then the next time somebody starts to type, roofer near me, all those types of things, Greer will start to pop up, or roofing company in Greer, because most people don't have a big, robust website in order to have all their sub-locations and things like that. So the more clear that you can coach people on those Google reviews and have them be more specific is huge. And then obviously respond to those reviews. Number 2 is the organic side of social media through the business page. So posting videos, posting pictures and content, posting pictures of projects and customer testimonial videos, like just being super, super consistent literally all day long. And then number 3, regardless of where you have your website built, if you have it built with a company or you do it on your own, just consistently add new content to it. So one of the biggest ways that people get ranking quicker is they add more content in the competition. So having specific location pages on your website for all the areas you served, having all of the service pages for everything that you do, and then writing things like blogs and FAQs. Those things, of course, all 3 of those things you can hire companies to do, but those are things that you can control and do yourself from the minute you get started.
Can I give a number 4?
Yeah.
All right. So my number 4 would be, and I think all those are like things you should be doing. I think if you want to have a bonus one in there, go to Google and sign up for your Google local service ads.
Oh, 100%.
Because it is so easy to do. You don't need an agency to do that for you. Now, granted, there's a lot of stuff on the back end that if you do it, you can optimize it and have it become even better. So a lot of times it is really worthwhile having an agency work with you on that. But if you don't have the money to do that and you're able to just go in, sign up for Google local service ads, they're basically going to guarantee that you're a legit contractor, and then you put in your budget and you start getting calls. They're going to put you up towards the top. You're going to have a little green check mark. A lot of the times too, what's going to happen is you got to think of why people are calling you, why homeowners are calling you. So if the home, they're looking up at the ceiling, they see a spot on the ceiling, they call a roofing contractor, right? So what I always found to be great is you come out, you look at what's the problem, you identify the problem, you put together this quote for repairing the issue, and you also come in ready with a quote for full replacement. If you come in with that, you come in with financing options, you're able to start getting a lot of really good retail jobs that way, because a lot of the times, if you're struggling with, if you haven't had a storm in a while or anything like that, I've found this to be just a super huge help too.
No, and the only thing I was going to say is we literally had a client come over to us recently where they were getting charged almost $1,500 a month just to have somebody run their LSA, Google Local Service Ads. It's super easy, as you mentioned. We personally don't charge. I would not pay anybody to do that. There's plenty of tutorials on there to do it, but it is one of the quickest things that we've seen. Now, in certain markets, it's super competitive, obviously, but some super high quality jobs come out of there, and it's something that if you're not signed up for, I would absolutely do. And then I love what you talk about having those multiple options. I think a lot of times, and I've seen roofing contractors be on both sides of this, is they're like, hey, we don't want to rank for roof repair, or we don't want to go after those types of jobs. Those are great low-hanging fruit, tickets in the door to be able to take care of somebody and control the process, get a really, really amazing review, customer testimonial, and then get referrals out of that. And then when they need the replacement,
you get them in your funnel.
You get them and you get them in the funnel and they're there. But that's the end-to-end thing that most people won't think about. For the same thing for the auto glass repair company. We literally charge $90 for a repair. And we do this mobile. We don't make a ton of money on that. But we get a review every single time, most of the time. We get referrals. We get all of those things. And you build your happy customers and those raving fans by those super simple and easy things to do that don't take a lot of your time or resources. It's just not a huge profit.
Yeah. No, 100%. I think there's a lot of different options out there. I think a lot of people get stuck in this mindset of like, I got to go knock doors. I got to go do this. And I've almost become like the anti-door knocker just because I think door knocking is fine. I just think it's not some of these other things are going to be long-term sustainable business models that you can continue to do, or like, hey, if I've set all these processes up, all these systems up, I can take a week off and my staff is still getting phone calls at home versus if I'm only relying on door knocking, which can be great.
Oh, yeah.
If you're only relying on door knocking though, and you go take a week off, now all of a sudden you've got a week gap in your workflow.
I think it just goes back to the point is like you have to have multiple, whether it's your personal brand or the business, you have to have multiple lines in the water. Like you should never have all of your eggs in one or two baskets when it comes to marketing and branding your company, because you get one of those things cut off. Like if Google changes its algorithm and you're on the first page of Google and everything's going great and they change your algorithm, that's all you have, then you're going to have to rush to go to door knocking. Like you should have a diversified portfolio of all of this stuff.
Yeah, 100%. Cool. All right, let me ask you when we get to the end of the show, I have a series of rapid fire questions that I ask everyone. The rules are you don't have a set limited time to be able to answer them, but I do want you to answer the first thing that comes to your head, and we may dig deep into these. All right, so this is the Rise Above show. We talk about overcoming things, rising above. What were some of the obstacles that you had to rise above from to get to the point that you're at in your business?
So I had to get to the point of controlling my relationship with alcohol. So I stopped drinking for 7.5 months, mostly in part to I was using it as a resource for both good and bad to take the emotion out of being an entrepreneur.
Awesome. Awesome that you figured that out, and I love that was super quick, and I can tell that, I heard you tell the full story at the conference and just how that's affected you because you're able to put yourself first. And I've noticed too, like if on the days that I get my workout in the morning, for example, for me, it's not even about like, I'm not trying to have a six pack, none of that. I'm like, what's going to help me to be able to have a clear mind so I can make good business decisions and just I feel like I waste too much time if I don't start my day off right. And so something like this of like quitting alcohol for a while, just you're able to clear your mind, be able to make solid business decisions without having to think of some of these other activities.
And I think, entrepreneurship's hard, and it's not for the faint of heart. And I caught myself when making excuses, I guess. Oh, hey, you had a really hard week. Go have some drinks. You did really, really well in business. Go have some drinks. You didn't do anything good or bad, but you're an entrepreneur. Like those are the types of things. And I found myself hanging out with some of the people again in my life that got me further and further away from who I knew I wanted to be and could be. And so when I took that 7.5 months off of drinking, not only did I not see a lot of those people, but I never heard from them because they knew I wasn't drinking. And so when I started to and I don't drink a ton anymore, but if I do have drinks now, it's not with those people. And so I think it just shed light on me and where I was and some of the negative, kind of like I talked about in my talk, is there are negative habits. People a lot of times think about the habits that you have to add. There are negative habits, and those could be the habits of hanging out with other people that are actually not just keeping you where you're at, but even worse, pushing you further away from where you want to go.
All right, my second rapid fire question is a two-part question. One is, what is the last book that you read? And the second thing is, what is the best book that you read?
So the last book that I read, I actually just finished it yesterday. It's 10X is Easier Than 2X. Have you read that one?
No, but you're like the fourth person that's mentioned that on this
It's a
podcast.
good one. It's a good one. The best one that I've read is probably Buy Back Your Time, earlier this year by Dan Martell. And I've read a lot of...
We had him here.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah.
I've let a rot like that. That's a really tough one for me because it depends on where I'm at in my business, or where I'm at personally. But right now, with a kid on the way and me going into this new role, like it opened my eyes up to things I had been doing wrong for literally since I started in entrepreneurship. And then I read 10X is Easier Than 2X, which is just a phenomenal book I just finished.
Yeah. All right, if you had $1 billion exit with a B, what would your next 24 hours look like?
Man, that's tough.
Like
That's a tough
money
one.
hits your account. You got what's the next 24 hours?
My mind immediately went to the beach, go straight to the beach, and then figure out the rest. From there, I'd probably start investing into one of my long-term goals, and I'm going to try to start doing it here soon, or I'm going to start doing it here soon, is investing in real estate that are Airbnb properties. So I just want to have places that are cash flowing across the world. Start obviously here in the United States that are near the beach. Like I just love the beach.
Yeah. The last question is, what is the best business advice that you've ever been given?
Man, that's another tough one. I think the best business advice that I've ever been given is make your main thing until your main thing can run and be automated without you for at least 30 days. So you have to be able to take a vacation and not be in your business for 30 days without the company just crumbling to the cracks and fires everywhere before you start to go do other things. And this came from the advice of a mentor of mine as I was complaining to him that I have this marketing company that's really going here, and then I have this auto glass company that just got started and I know nothing about it. And then 3 months later, I started a landscape design company. So he's like, that's the advice that he told me as I brought that to him.
Yeah, love it. All right, well, I appreciate you coming and, for us to be able to get to do this interview. And I appreciate just all the stuff you guys are doing over at Hite. Really look up to you guys, and I think you guys are doing good things. I think if anyone is not following Adam, Hite Digital, follow you. Where do they go if they want to follow you?
Yeah, appreciate that, man. Thanks for having me, and likewise with you guys and everything you guys are doing at RoofCON. You can go to AdamMcChesney.com, so that's the easiest place to find all the different stuff I have going on. When it comes to social media, Instagram is going to be the easiest, and that's Adam L. McChesney.
Sweet. Well, we appreciate you, and if you've stuck around and you've tuned in the whole time, we really appreciate you. Go ahead and get your tickets to RoofCON November 9th through the 11th of this year in Orlando, Florida at the Orange County Convention Center. We're going to have a lot of great speakers. Kevin Harrington, who spoke at TCS, is going to be speaking there. We've got more speakers that we've not announced yet, and we've got announcements coming soon, but it's going to be a good time. Lots of workshops. So if you want to improve, get better at your roofing business, RoofCON is the place to go. So with that being said, we'll catch you guys next time on the next episode of the Rise Above Show presented by RoofCON. Peace out.
Sweet, man.
Appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, appreciate you, man.